Hey everyone, this is the LEGO Jurassic World T-Rex vs. Dino Mech set. It is derived from, or made for, the non-canonical LEGO spin-off Jurassic World Legends of Isla Nublar. And I think the set is full of a bunch of stuff that a lot of kids will really enjoy. First, the T-Rex. Now, this may not be the most scientifically current depiction of a T-Rex based on what paleontologists think today, but what they think today is different from what they thought yesterday and the day before that. And this is not supposed to be a scientifically perfect T-Rex anyway. It's supposed to be from the Jurassic World universe, where things were resurrected using fresh DNA mixed with old DNA and stuff. And I think that this is a cool looking toy. Oh yeah, it's also a toy. I think this is a cool looking toy T-Rex. It's not my favorite color scheme that they've come up with to date, but I like the mix of stripes and scaly bits on it. It has all the same articulation that these always have had. They've had this exact same set of molds for quite a while now. So it's got leg articulation, although it's difficult to put it into a proper running pose unless you have it on a studded base, where you can use these anti-studs on the underside to stabilize it quite a bit, but you can find some balances in there a little bit that look like there's some kind of motion going on. It's got the tiny little arms that move up and down and just have a single hook on each that can hold on to something bar-sized. The head is pretty well articulated on these, or at least the neck, so you can rotate this way, you can go up and down, which is also useful for the high-up, older style of depiction of a T-Rex. And most importantly, you have the mouth that can be opened and closed. Has a couple of stops in there, so you can get it all the way closed completely, which is great, and quite open, big enough to fit a minifigure in there or something. And you also have this tail, which can be rotated from side to side a bit if you want. And then here's the Dino Mech. Now this is sized to look like it'll be able to compete fairly with the T-Rex. It's a bit larger, but their overall height is very similar, so you can really imagine these fighting against each other. And this thing looks pretty cool to me. Very much reminds me of some old Zoids, and I'm sure there are plenty of older Japanese mecha that this will remind many people of. The build is good. It's varied. You know, you use a lot of different types of techniques. Nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy or difficult to put together. This is not an advanced model or anything like that. But as you can see, it's able to stand on its own 2 feet. It's not completely flat with the ground right now with the feet, but it doesn't really need to be, fortunately. And this has plenty of articulation. I mean, you got arms, which are so much more useful than a T-Rex's, being able to move these all around with the 2 ball joints, and also you have these clamping grasper hands. So those can open up, and they can also be closed down quite a bit. You have the head, which can be rotated also, and it'll go up and down. And it has the mouth that can open and close. Some suggestions of eyes there. You get a little light that comes into that there. And then for the legs, we've got the ratcheted joints. So you've got the ankles and the hip joints that allow you to put it into some slightly action-looking poses. This is actually a little bit more posable than the T-Rex. It's a little bit more flexible. It's got toes that can be moved in and out or up and down. Not particularly needed for stability or anything in this case, but it's nice that that is there. You're not able to bring the legs all the way together. There's a little bit of bulk in the center of this that keeps the legs apart a bit, but that's not such a bad thing. I think it's better to have them apart than too close and flat together. And then the tail can be brought up or down just at its base, and then each segment here is able to rotate. It's got dual ball joints. They are locked together, so you have no up and down motion. But if you want to get crazy with it, and you do want to bend the tail up and down, you can just detach or disengage one of those ball joints and get it to flex more than it's intended to. It's a little bit easier to make it go down than up, but that works out just fine. And then the tip here has a little skid or a ski, so that can just follow along behind, or maybe you can figure out a way to use it as a weapon or as a tool for something. What I personally like least about this build is its very, very heavy reliance on stickers for the visual texture. So all of these are stickers here, sticker, 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 and the toes especially. Or the feet really. Oops. Just knocked one of the toes off accidentally. But the feet have 3 stickers each, and they're just small. You can see for the kind of mud splash design in there. And it doesn't even look all that realistic, because I mean these toes here look perfectly clean, and then you have the mud splashes down here and the sides don't. Just not particularly worth it to me. So you can always just leave those off if you want. That is the one really nice thing about stickers, is you can just leave them off if you want. But the physical texture that is here is really nice. The use of a recolor there, metallic looking things, these layered spoiler or wing pieces on the sides, in a couple different colors. That's all good. And then you also have the control station here, the cockpit, which has a roll cage over the top of it, a couple lights up here, and this all just opens to the side to show a pretty comfortable looking seat actually. And he's got a little bit of a windscreen, or possibly there's a heads-up display involved there, and a printed console piece in front of him for his controls. So that all looks pretty good to me. In all, I definitely like this. Wish that it used fewer stickers, but it's easy to articulate. It looks pretty cool, went together well, and it just seems like it would be fun. Set also gives you a fairly substantial amount of terrain. I mean, that's pretty sizable. It's based around 3 large rock pieces, and it's hollow for the most part on the inside, but this has a wonderful twist to it. I mean, the build on the outside looks pretty good. Obviously, it's supposed to be a mountain that's kind of off in the background, or maybe you're looking at just a portion of it. You know, use your imagination to figure out its scale, but it's erupting out the side. And you just imagine that if this were to explode completely, because we're just seeing just a little bit of seepage of magma there, and it's actually going to fully blow up. When that happens, the entire thing splits apart. And as it turns out, there was some treasure in there the whole time. That's nice. Look, there are all these gems in there. These are all supposed to represent gold coins. There are some gold ingots that are of the molded kind, you know, that are not painted with the brighter gold on the outside. It's just 4 different colors of gems and lots of gold colored pieces in there. And it's pretty sleek and pretty slick. How the action feature there works. You can also access this from the back, but it's a little bit more difficult to get there because you have these arms that are part of the action feature to make it open and close. But this is nice. They also have this suggestion of a cave up here, and again, you have to use your imagination to kind of figure out scale and also access to it. But these large preformed rock pieces generally have this open space that isn't used up, and every time that I see them, if you're able to get a figure around the back, I think, well, what if you used that? What if you thought of that as a cave? Well, they've done exactly that. They've thought of it as a cave. You have an egg that has split apart here, that is hatched, and there are bits of it on the ground that looks really good. There are also a couple of bats just hanging around, and you know, there's just enough space to put a figure in there to be exploring. And it's better than not using the space for anything. Honestly, the whole thing doesn't look that good from around the back, but I really like the feature around the front. And I can imagine some people possibly bringing this piece down, taking some of the action feature out, bringing this piece down, and turning this into a wider mountain that can be accessed and climbed on from the front. Here's just one more build. This is a rigid hull inflatable boat raft, or yeah, I guess you would call it a raft. It's powered by a small outboard motor back here, which has an interesting design. They have an upside down steering wheel to represent the base of it, and the propeller right there. You can actually angle this up and down a little bit, as well as turn it from side to side. So that's actually kind of nice. Couple clips on there to hold on to minifig accessories. Plenty of space for lots of figures to sit or stand in here. A couple of stud shooters on the front, because Lego likes to put stud shooters on things. That's a sticker. I'm good with it. This does not float properly. I mean, it actually will float a little bit, but it's not intended to. You know, it's not sealed or anything, but if you don't put anything in it, you can figure out a way to make it float for a short amount of time. This container has nothing in it but just a couple of studs, but you can put something more useful in there if you don't care to use these, or if you do care to use them and not have the studs inside there. Yeah, it's nothing spectacular, but it does its job for what it's supposed to be. Looking at minifigures, of course, Owen and Claire here. Not a whole lot of detail in their clothing, or at least the clothing that they have is not particularly fancy, but I think each is done pretty well as a Lego representation of fairly normal clothes, except for the skin tone portion. I think maybe they should just start having everybody in the Lego worlds have t-shirts on underneath, because they're trying to print skin tone around the neck and it just doesn't work. It just comes out looking pale and weird. So maybe they should just switch over and give up on that or something. Good print around the back to match what's on the front with the textures, and each of these has an alternate face, and these are both useful for the scenarios that they're getting into, I'm sure. On the right there is Vic Hoskins from Jurassic World. On the left is not Nedry. Nope. It's a relative, though. That is Danny Niedermeyer, and I have to say, I love Danny's torso and arms. That just looks so cool to me. It's so different, and I like the different colors that are used on it, especially. Dual molded arms there, always a luxury, to be sure. I don't know. It's funky, it's funny, but it looks good, with the exception of the little bit of suggestion of the skin tone again up at the neck. Now see, Vic on the right has a suggestion of a shirt underneath his shirt, an undershirt. It's printed in white, so it's not trying to look like his skin tone comes through there, and that works out just fine. Even if the white is not perfect there, I think it's just fine. Look at this detail around the back, though. That's so cool. Both of them actually are done pretty well. And underneath, a very different expression there. Not such a different expression for Vic, but two very good ones for Danny, to be sure. And a can of soda pop there, and a trank gun, or maybe it's a taser gun. Last but certainly not least, the baby dinosaurs. I love the baby dinosaurs from Lego. And you got the full team here of Blue, Echo, Delta, and Charlie. Notice that Blue is now based on the gray color and is not using the sand green anymore, which can now be used by Delta. I believe that the second from the right is supposed to be Delta. Charlie is the most green of them. Probably a bunch of people will say that I'm completely wrong on which ones that I'm choosing, but I looked at lots of reference material and tried to make the best matches that I could, regardless, whatever the canonical names and changes of color schemes are and everything. I like all of these, and I love getting all four of them as a set in a single set. I wish that they would make more of these available in more cheap sets as well, in more different color schemes, even things that are not Jurassic World specific. Here are the spare parts left over from the set. I am not sure if this 2x2 metallic bright silver dish was supposed to be a spare, but I did get one extra, but the others all look normal, including a full extra set of gems. Before I sum things up, I will acknowledge that they do list the names officially of the baby dinosaurs on the front of the box. However, I would not go by that solely, because toy manufacturers have made mistakes with not only the names, but also the entire color schemes of Jurassic World dinosaurs in the past, including these, including Lego itself, which up to now has made baby blues that looked like this. And I was perfectly happy with that, but now that they have one that looks like this, well, that is definitely so much better. All right, so to sum things up, I like the set. I am not impressed by the Raft. I mean, it's cool and all for what it is, but I feel like maybe the parts that went into this could have been used over here instead. I don't know. I know it's going to be part of telling the story and everything, but yeah, it's just not as cool as the mech, or even the terrain. I think the terrain build is pretty decent here, and the action feature that they built into it is actually pretty cool. And it doesn't involve like a shooter trying to to throw a rock up in the air or something like that. That just isn't as useful to me. And the T-Rex, yeah, it's just reusing that same set of molds that they've used a number of times up to now, but it's still cool. Value. Yeah, the price to part ratio is not the best here, and I certainly would have expected that given the inclusion of the T-Rex. Lego always charges us more for the big animals than they do for, you know, small regular pieces like 1x2 plates, and that's understandable. They're made with more pieces. They definitely require more time to put together, more steps and everything. And there's a lot more value here in the handful of pieces that are in this than in this many 1x2 plates, you know? But still, it does feel like the set is pretty expensive for the overall size of everything put together. But it doesn't feel outrageous to me, even at just its full original retail price, mostly because I feel like this is such a good set that is really going to bring a whole lot of joy to a lot of kids. I mean, I would have loved this as a kid, especially during a time when one of the several times when I was more into dinosaurs. I can just imagine, I can put myself into the mindset of a kid who likes dinosaurs, and getting all the baby dinosaurs is just great. Getting a T-Rex is always a good thing, and this mech too is really cool. I think it looks great. I would not have changed anything on that. If I could have asked the Lego designers to change that up, I really don't think there's much that I would have done other than maybe leaving off some of the stickers or replacing a couple of those, maybe at least one of them with a print. Like if they had done this as a new print, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stickers that could have been left out of that. That would have helped quite a bit. The minifigure selection is very good for these stories, and that is definitely the highlight of the set for me. Well, this and these. That little corner of this picture is the highlight of the set for me. If you want to see how all this went together, check out one of my build videos. I have the real-time one where you can just let it go, just let it play in the background, and there's no narration, there's no music or anything, so you can just hear the sounds, or you can mute it, whatever you want to do. Or you can check out the speed build, which is obviously much faster. It's more of the traditional style of Lego build video, and lets you get through the entire thing. Still, all of the steps are shown, but it's just much quicker. You can check out whichever you prefer. I will link to both of them on screen right now, as well as in the pinned comments, and I'll talk to you again soon.